Hi, hello, and welcome. Do you sometimes feel people think you're a hypochondriac, or have you ever been accused of being one? Or do you simply feel like no one really gets you? And if people told you that you should stop worrying about your food and just eat like everybody else does, and that actually, by the way you are eating is making you ill. Maybe someone even mentioned this new disorder called Orthorexia Nervosa. And today I want to talk about this because I find it unacceptable what is happening to people who make an effort to get well and healthy, to not be a weight or a burden on their families, and who are actually brave enough to go against social pressures and bullying, quite frankly, by the food police, on top of dealing with a disease that really can mess up your entire life. It's bad enough how much confusion is out there about what to eat. It is just crazy. Do you know there's even a name for those who care about healthy food too much? And that really makes me angry, and I really want to talk about this. You know, there's a test that someone developed, and it's called the Ortho 15, to decide if somebody is, in their opinion and judgment, unhealthily obsessed with eating healthily. Let me repeat that. Somebody is unhealthily obsessed with eating healthily. So in their world, that then means that you have a condition called Orthorexia Nervosa. Isn't that great? And there's probably going to be a pill for that too. Honestly, whoever makes this stuff up needs to find something else to do to keep them busy. But you know what is worse, and what actually makes this utterly ridiculous, is how they score the test and get to a result, or more like a verdict, actually. It's not even a result. And I'm going to give you an example. Question number 1, and oops, they fall at the first hurdle. They ask if you pay attention to calories in a meal. So if you never pay attention to calories, you're more likely to be diagnosed with having orthorexia nervosa. So you don't care about a measure like calories, which then means you have a disorder. In other words, you are too focused on eating healthily because you don't worry about calories. I rest my case, apart from the fact that calories are an antiquated measure, but that just makes no sense. The next question they ask you is if the thought of food worries or concerns you, and you're supposed to say, never. So again, you are sick if you never worry about food. Clearly, they don't read the news, ever. It makes you wonder what kind of state they were in as they wrote this test out. But luckily, other people have chimed in already and really questioned this test and the validity of it. One institute wrote, more conclusive research is needed. But that's not the only thing. I saw a study recently from a university on Twitter where they asked all the wrong questions, or they didn't actually ask the real questions. So the underlying questions, it was just this very superficial, quick test about vegetarian diets and if they're better for your health than those of meat eaters. And they didn't even consider things like the dairy factor, the grain factor, the sugar, the bean, the meat, the alcohol factor. So all this tells us is that this study is not worth the paper it's written on, and a waste of time. My time for reading it on Twitter. But the problem I have with this sort of thing is this. It's dangerous because many of us are time starved, and the temptation to run with headlines is big, whether it's us ourselves or the people who give us a hard time about how we eat. I work with so many people on a daily basis, and I help them get their health and their beauty back. And that includes anything from hormones to energy to digestion to weight and other chronic conditions, but also anti-aging strategies. I'm 52, and I'm not embarrassed that I take care of my body and that I will only eat what I decide to put into my body. And no, it doesn't have to cost a fortune. And no, I'm not afraid to bring my own food and stand up for my right to eat what I choose and what I know to keep me healthy. I do remember the days when I first started to try different things to help me get out of years and years and years of chronic disease and chronic pain. And it was really hard. And people close to me criticized me massively all the time. If someone wants to call being healthy and showing up for the people we love without a disease or condition that stops us from getting the most out of our life a disorder, I'm afraid I actually don't care. And neither should you or anyone. And I know fighting about this when you're already on the ground is hard, especially when you've got an intestinal disorder, because that can really ground you. It takes time to get through to people, to explain, to also let them know that you understand they come from a place of care, mixed in with desperation because all the generally available information about food they have access to is just so blatantly wrong. And they only find that out when it is too late with them, too. So, what can we do? I think for me, the most important lesson I learned is that I share with people that I understand their food choices, and that I'm okay with my choices, and that I really need their support in helping me to support these choices. Explain how it feels when you are being ridiculed. And there will always be people who choose to not want to understand because they find that less painful and less involved than actually learning something new. They don't want to stretch. So, one of the lessons I learned was that I stopped talking. I learned to smile and change the subject, and I found that to be so much easier and less stressful for both. You know, food is such an emotional subject to all of us, and it can be hard to talk about it. Everybody wants to share what is good and what is healthy, what makes us lose weight. It is hardwired into our DNA to share this sort of information. So the most important part is not to take it personally. There's only good intention behind it. And once we understand that, dealing with these sorts of comments becomes a lot easier. And don't forget, most people need to feel really, really ill before they try to find a solution that means changing what they currently eat. And I salute those who make that switch. Why? Because it requires strength, an open mind, a certain level of consciousness, but it also requires a tremendous amount of discipline. The way out of chronic disease can be tricky, it can be difficult, frustrating, hard, arduous, long, painful. But at the end of that part of our journey, there is a healthy body for us. But what's more, there's an expanded mind, a smaller carbon footprint, more experiences, and more life. And I always say this, our body is the vehicle that takes us around, our car, if you want. And we live in it, and we aren't going anywhere without it. Plus, I think having a passion for a car or a vehicle is just as okay as it is to have for your body. You may have noticed that while at the moment we're still few and far in between, veganism is becoming more and more trendy. Even to be a raw vegan has become more trendy. Numerous celebrities are coming out of the woodwork, and even the latest royal baby is going to be raised vegan, thanks to a very smart young lady called Meghan Markle. Watch how that is going to change the supermarkets and, by extension, the state of our health. Just beware, though, and read the labels if you buy processed. Don't trust the food industry, ever. Anyway, what it boils down to is this. I do not question someone else's choice of food they eat, provided they live with the consequences. Good food is wonderful. Raw, vegan food, especially fruit and any vegetable and salad, is perfect for our digestive system. And this is just obvious when you do your research, when you go and discover study after study. And there's still so much confusion out there. Everyone is confused about what to eat. And I find it despicable how much nonsense is being perpetuated. And I know I'll be getting emails about this, but I will still tell you the truth. Eating raw food at least 50, 60, 70 or more percent is the healthiest way to eat. We don't do well on animal products because it is a massive digestive load on our system. It's loaded with hormones that our body can't cope with. And the World Health Organization has done a 30-year study linking animal protein to colon cancer. And that's not the only study. There's study after study after study coming out now. And dairy actually is the worst food for us. Our body cannot break down dairy after 2 to 3 years of age. So go figure. So dairy is highly acid forming, and on top of that, it sucks the calcium out of your body to stop the acids chewing up your tissue from the acidity that the dairy that you've just ingested is actually creating in your body. So the easiest way to know for sure what to eat and what is safe for our system to be running on is to look at your digestive system and what nature has designed it to run on. Compare that to other vertebrae and see for yourself. Make your own decision. Each of us has to decide what they want and what our priorities are. And you're here listening to me, so I think it's safe to assume that you care about eating healthily. And the more of us there are, the better place the world is going to be. So I'm really glad you are here. You know, we don't like harming animals. We want to stay healthy and beautiful for our families so we can be there for them. We have a tiny carbon footprint. We protect the environment. We raise issues about water, about health, about the importance of avoiding endocrine disruptors. The list goes on and on. But you know what? I think we love food because we know how exciting and wonderful good, honest food really is, right? Right. So I appreciate you for doing what you're doing. You're learning the truth about food. As always, you can ask me anything in the comments below, or you can use any of the links you see below or at the end of the video. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you like it, or tell me what you want me to talk about. Subscribe if you want to keep in touch. And I certainly look forward to seeing you back again on the next video. So here's to a healthy, beautiful, and happy you. Bye-bye.